Hi everyone, and a massive welcome to a very special episode here on InfoSec Live of AntiguaRecon, where we will be discussing Antigua's next cybersecurity warriors. For those that are new to the channel, my name's Simon Linstead. I'm the founder of the InfoSec Live community, and by sharing stories and best practice over the last few months, it's led to over 8,000 hours of our content being viewed on YouTube by you, our amazing subscribers. So a huge thank you for your engagement. And if you'd like to support the wider InfoSec Live community, or indeed buy me a cheeky decaf coffee, we do have a few ways that you can show your appreciation. First up, the ability to purchase super stickers in the YouTube chat. I'm laughing because I'm watching our guest laugh at me in the background here. Stickers in the YouTube chat if you'd like your question bumped up to the top. And 3 tiers of membership, allowing you to show your support in any way that you can. But whether you join or not, being here and engaging with our content is what really matters. So please do like and subscribe. We want to make these events as interactive as possible. So make sure you do drop any questions you have in the chat if you're watching it live. And if you're watching the replay, please do let us know what you think by dropping some comments in. So today, very, very excited to be joined by Adam Dennis. Adam has managed software teams for the last 27 years, run 3 non-profits, 2 for-profits, and started 2 non-profit and 2 for-profit tech companies, one of which he sold. And in between all of that fun, he enjoys life as a husband and father of 2 amazing girls. He's an Antiguan-American living on the little island of Antigua in the West Indies, working remotely, managing his software company in the US, in short sleeve shirt today as well. Very jealous because it's about -2 here. And as a response to the lack of opportunity for young people in Antigua, especially in the tech field, he launched AntiguaRecon early last year with the support of Island Academy, a local primary, secondary, and IB school. Whilst the initiative is in its infancy, it's already building with a group of 8 young Antiguans from last year's class that have now teamed up with 8 new students for the 2023 one. They were created as a training and cybersecurity services company dedicated to developing a growing cadre of cybersecurity professionals over time. It's currently supported by volunteer cybersecurity professionals who serve as both expert mentors for the students and general guides. And effectively, it has 3 simple goals. 1, train a cadre of ethical hackers with a specialization in web attacks, simulated phishing, and agile scrum project management skills. 2, build the size of the group of professionals over time, having each graduating class then helping the next succeed. And 3, start offering cybersecurity services in 2023 so the company can fund its training programs and give students a real-world opportunity to build their real-world credentials and skills over time. So enough of me waffling on. Excited to dig into this. Let's bring Adam on. Thanks for bearing with the intro, Adam, and thanks for making me laugh halfway through my intro.
No, man, I was laughing because I was like, I don't need to say anything. You've done a great pitch. Everybody, the podcast is over.
No, not at all. Look, thank you so much for coming on, and a big thank you to all of the audience I can see there. Special shout out to Richie Perry from another brother from Jamaica, and thank you, Liam, for the super sticker. It's much, much appreciated. And apparently you've put a hippo character that runs at high speed there, and his legs forming a ball-like blur. Love the descriptor I get in the chat. But I have given a bit of background, but I think before we dig into AntiguaRecon, let's find out a bit more about the man behind it. So tell us about your journey, Adam. It looks like you might have had a reasonably long one like myself. No offense there. So let's get started with that.
Yeah, for the record, I don't dye my hair. My hair is actually this color. It's the beard that turned gray. So, yeah, no, God, I don't know. My journey is I'm a misfit. I mean, a lot of people in this field are misfits. And, you know, even in the software field, I was a misfit. I hung out with all the software programmers when I was in university. I was the social engineer. We did a lot of things that we probably shouldn't talk about.
I think we probably should.
And then I went on in life. I worked in politics for a while, which is scary. And then I got involved, well, in grad school. Like you said, I started a nonprofit. And on that one, we launched. It's still operational today and funded by the economic mechanisms that we put together. In life, I've always been a person that just, if I have something I want to do, I just say, okay, what do I need to learn? And I just go do it. I mean, it's not much more complicated than that.
But that in itself, I'm sure, has opened up lots of doors. Just jumping quickly back to something you said. You said about the social engineering while you were studying, and then you went into politics. So pretty much a continuation of that skill set then, Adam.
Hey, no joke, a complete continuation, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of the same skills.
What did you do in politics?
I was a guy that got paid to get people elected. So, and it wasn't very long. And it was, Washington, D.C. politics. I first got started in national politics with the National Graduate Student Organization, organizing nationally for issues that are of concern for grad students. And then I got involved in Washington, D.C. city politics, got a mayor elected there, got some council members elected. And then I met a woman who wasn't impressed with anything I did. I married her and I got out of politics. Not her
Is,
fault. I made the choice.
is that what led you to Antigua, or is that a different story?
That's its own unique story. My wife is actually from Montserrat, which, being a Brit, Montserrat,
Yeah.
it's a British colony. Um, and we got married in 95 in Montserrat. 2 weeks later, the volcano exploded for the first time in 400 years. I claim I have nothing to do with it, but I do argue that I'm probably the first new gene pool that was introduced in a long time.
It's
If any
coincidental.
Montserratians are watching right now, don't tell anybody I said that. But well, life just went on, and we lived at that time in Baltimore. And then I had a company that I ran from 2000 to 2005. I sold it in 2005, and when I sold, I turned to my wife and I said, we can move to the islands. Let's do it. And at that time, I just had one daughter. I wanted her to grow up around her maternal grandparents, because they're just the most amazing people in the world. And so as a consequence, we moved here in 2005.
And I know this isn't what you're here to talk about, but my aim in a few years' time is to relocate my family to somewhere warmer. So just tell me, has it been a life-changing experience for you? Has it been a complete change of way of life? Talk to me about
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I mean, well, it was a rich. Well, he's from Jamaica, right? So you take a northerner from New England like me, who wants everything done yesterday, who's really an A-type personality, and you throw him in the Caribbean. It's either that person has to adjust or they'll be broken, because it's not going to work. So I went, like, 5 years. I went through a process of adapting. It took me a while in some cases, and I still have these moments where, my cultural roots jump forward, and it's like, what? But yeah, you have to adopt. You have to adapt to the culture, because it's kind of offensive to think that the culture should adapt to you.
You're talking to a person from Great Britain who are well known for their lack of ability to adopt other people's cultures and turn their towns and villages into mini replicas of the United Kingdom. So I completely agree with you. I lived in the Canary Islands for a few years in my early 20s, and I was the only person out of our whole group who attempted to speak Spanish. And it's just, unfortunately, the mindset, I'm afraid, that people should speak English and just do everything the way that we do, not slagging
Yeah, well,
off counterparts there.
and there are expats here who follow that creed, and it's not the way I am. I mean, I think the reason I started this program was largely I've most all of my friends are Antiguan or some variation of Caribbean, because there are a lot of people from elsewhere elsewhere around the region that are here as well. And if you take that approach, then you get more connected to everybody. You get more connected to the life of the island, and so that's why it kind of led me to this spot here.
I'm trying to do two things at once, which never works because I have this inability to multitask. Just saying hello to people in the chat. It's easier to say out loud. Hi, Charles from Hong Kong. Good to see you. And hi, Akeem as well. Save me typing. So it's clear that you have adopted the culture, and I suppose the local activities in particular. Tell me how did you get involved with the schools? How did AntiguaRecon all come about?
Well, my daughter actually goes to Island Academy, and I've gotten to be really good friends with the founder of the school. I was talking to her one day back in, I think it was July 2021. And she asked me how I was doing and and I just happened to off the cuff mention that I was doing fine, but someday I would like to do what I did many years ago in Washington, D.C. And she said, "What was that?" And I said, "Well, I ran a program, an intervention program for young people, teaching them how to manage servers, do web pages." And this was back in the late '90s, so that's the proof in the beard right there. Um, and she said, "Great, when can you start?" I said, "Bernadette, what are you talking about?" She said, "Well, we want to improve our technological offering, and we want to be able to offer a broader, um, I guess, offering to the community. Do you want to do something?" And I said, "Well, let me think about it." And I was kind of tossed up between software, which is my more common background, and cybersecurity, which I didn't have much experience in, other than teaching software developers to develop secure coding, right?
Yeah.
But I called some friends of mine, this one friend in particular from CrowdStrike. If anybody knows that group out of the States, he was like, go with cybersecurity. It's really exploding. There's a shortage of people for the positions. So I did. And, Mike was a good hand, gave me a good hand in sort of getting my head wrapped around the subject. And then this guy, Joe Newing from Canada, who's a cybersecurity expert, he helped me put together the approach. And basically I went back to Bernadette and I said, hey, here's what I want to do. We're going to start with curriculum from Hack the Box. And I've lined up, I forgot how many mentors at that time. Can you help us put it together? And she said, yeah. And she went out and fundraised within a very short period of time and got the funding together. And we just launched back in January 2022.
That's amazing. I mean, one thing I wrote down there about your history of helping people develop secure code, it still seems to be a bit of an uphill battle now, doesn't it, Adam?
Yeah, go just take the OWASP top 10. Take a look, and you can see how many times people make the same stupid mistakes year after year after year. Yeah.
Well, I think you can apply that to the industry in general, can't you? It seems, you look at cybersecurity budgets, how much they've increased over the last few years, but breaches have continued going up, and there seems to be this massive focus on plug and play tool solutions rather than the underlying problem, which is the people and the processes. And that's one of the reasons why I was so excited to have you on to talk about what you're doing there, because the skills gap, and there is a skills gap, whether people say there is or isn't, there clearly is, because there's a difference between, this is my humble opinion, difference between doing a 6-month course with no real interaction or guidance from people in the industry and then expecting to land a job, which is where a lot of the boot camps out there at the moment are preying on victims, charging them a few $1,000s for a course, telling them that I'll be able to earn $100,000 at the end of it, when I think probably the most valuable part from what we've talked about that you've got going with the AntiguaRecon is the mentorships that the students get.
Yeah, we wouldn't be possible without the mentorships. I mean, we have, in any volunteer organization, you're going to have a whole bunch of people sign up. And then what happens is the best always rise up. And we have some mentors that are just fabulous. I mean, we have a mentor from the States, Allison, that yesterday, she was in the session with us, and she just always there to help, always there to, provide feedback. Yeah, we're very, very fortunate. But to go back to something you said, which is one of my pet peeves, is there are a lot of tools. There is a lot of training. There's an emphasis on offensive security and pen testing and stuff like that. But there's a huge gap where the gap should not be, and that's in social engineering.
Yeah.
If you look at the majority of attacks start with some sort of social engineering attack, right? Whether it's a ransomware attack or what have you. But I've had to be putting together curriculum on our own. We have 2 young ladies in the program that really want to do social engineering and specializing in phishing skills and stuff like that, simulated phishing. And I've had to assemble curricula, because when I looked out at the world and looked at the different training programs, there's a fixation on offensive or potentially defensive. And then there's a huge gap when it comes to social engineering.
It's
the use
all
of certain
on
tools, et cetera.
All on the technical, none on the people. I think
Well,
you're absolutely right.
Yeah, and hopefully nobody will kill me, but I think it's kind of a male thing, right?
Yeah.
Is, when you look at the technical, that's typically seen as a male field, and men dominate, and the social engineering piece is much more of your soft skills. It's emotional intelligence. It's the thing that people, look down on a lot of times. But if you want to advance in a company, if you want to do really well, your social, your emotional skills should be really good. That social engineering stuff, if you have it down, will advance you. And the same thing goes in this field, which is the social engineering piece. There really should be better training than there is.
There should. Well, we have discussed that. And for those that haven't seen my shows before, share a quick story. I social engineered my way into this industry back in 2021 by pretending to be my 12-year younger, more attractive wife on Facebook and reaching out to middle-aged white men in the security industry to sell video marketing products. And I ended up introducing.
So you're saying that's what I need to do? Is I need to get my wife to represent me?
I'm just saying the undervalued side of, I suppose, ethical social engineering, where at the end of the day, I was completely honest with the chap as to how I'd got in touch with him, but it ended up offering me my first role in the industry. And I think if people focused on those soft skills a little bit more, not just in a manipulating social engineering way, but more in a engaging people. Yeah, sneaky, absolutely. Engaging people with conversations, meaningful conversations, or should I say dialogue, where both people are actually interested in listening to what the other people say.
Yeah, I totally agree. I do have to say though, hello to Kariba, Ayush, whose nickname is Hack, and then also Akeem. I know those guys, so I
Oh,
don't want to let them
excellent.
pass. I saw them scroll up.
I was then going to say, actually, there's a lot of love for Antigua. Charles Caldwell says that his mother was born and raised in Antigua, still has family there. Then Kariba also mentioned that from Antigua. And then Charles saying that he was born and raised in Don Mills, went to Vic Park, right next to Scarborough. Small world. So we've
Yep.
got a lot of love for the Antigua community going on here. Talk to me a bit more about the structure and what's going on with the training. What have you been doing?
All right. All right. Well, most importantly, I've been learning as I go. If you remember what you mentioned, Agile Scrum, and I'm
Yeah,
a great advocate of continual learning models. And that's even though Agile is not as commonly found in the cybersecurity space, is more in the software space. No matter what, I want the students who graduate from the program to graduate with a consciousness tied to continual learning, and that you should take a scientific approach to your own advancement, and you should look at what's working, what's not working,
yeah.
evaluate those two, and then figure out, okay, how do I need to continually improve? And that's the same approach I've taken to AntiguaRecon. So last year when I started, I had 15 kids. I had the mentors, and I was working with Hack the Box. And through the year, I just constantly we kept every month we would hold our planning session for the next month, our retrospective where we'd look at what was working, what not working. And as I matured through that year, I really knew that what I wanted to do for the following year is take the best students from the previous year, move them into the new year to work side by side with the new students. And the reason being, because when you get that senior student working with the junior student, a lot of those questions that would hang up that junior student
Yeah.
can then be relieved very quickly with the senior student working with them. Always following also a philosophy, which is you don't get to ask and have us tell you without you first doing research,
Well,
right?
that's the key, isn't it?
So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that's a huge skill to develop here. And these are the skills that are outside of sort of the actual technical,
Yeah.
but learning to command Google and the various resources that are out on the internet to find information is critically important. So anytime someone helps, they have to first show that they've done research online to try to find the answer that they're asking, or they've gone into any type of group on Try Hack Me or whatever. They've accessed and tried to get the answer before they reach out for a helping hand. But that model that we're doing now, I really like it because it looks like we're moving faster than what I previously anticipated in terms of the students coming up to speed.
Well,
So go ahead.
yeah, but I was just going to say what I really like about that, but another kind of viewpoint on it is if you've got the first year students then engaging, mentoring, and supporting the first year students, you're then freeing up the mentors' times and other people's times to then help with different areas, aren't you?
Correct. Yeah. Because I mean, the worst thing to do is to burn out a mentor, right?
Mm.
And you want a mentor to feel like one, what they're doing is rewarding, and two, it's not burdensome. So yeah, it spreads out. It spreads out the help, so to speak. And when we start the program, we always have two agreements that have to be signed. One, we have an agreement for the students, which lay out certain standards in terms of communication, that they communicate openly, that if there's a problem, they come to somebody who can fix it. In fact, we were talking about this yesterday, because if you don't have that type of structure, if you run the risk of the typical human behaviors, which is you're
Yeah.
frustrated, so you talk to the person next to you, and then it starts to become a cancer in the organization.
Yeah.
Nope, bring it up right away, get it done, move on, learn how to be constructive in your dialogue. And we have a number of other agreements that they have in terms of what they need to do and the commitment they're making to themselves in advancing themselves. And then the mentors have actually very similar requirements in terms of agreements on how they'll behave. So what the goal is to do is to create a very healthy environment where there's a lot of jokes. I get nailed on jokes all the time. In fact, you guys are going to be getting a humorous outcome. I owe to one of our cert winners. Unfortunately, when he was going for his cert, he tried 4 times. And the last run that he was doing, I told him, look, you pass this cert, I'll do a dance. So he passes the cert, he sends it to me in Discord, and all it says is start dancing. This was a little while ago. I owe him. I'm in panic mode because while I live in the islands, I am a living stereotype of the white guy who can't dance.
Aren't we all? Yeah.
So what's been decided on, I'm supposed to do the Wednesday dance. So I have to sit down with my daughter and go through doing if anybody knows Wednesday from the Addams Family thing.
Yeah.
That's what I'm supposed to do, and I have to post it. So
If I'd have
I'm going
known that, we could have set it up for you to do it today, couldn't we? What a shame.
No, no. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to do it in segments so it actually looks like I have rhythm.
That's brilliant. Talk to me about the mentors. So you've got a few mentors at the moment. Are you looking for other people to step in and mentor?
Yeah, we definitely are. I can tell you one area where we desperately need some mentorship is in the social engineering side. Anybody who has skills, particular skills in simulated phishing, because that's the initial focus. That's one of the great vulnerabilities of our area in the region is a lot of people is the cyber in terms of their cyber awareness, it's very, very low. So simulating okay, Ajante is the guy who got me, and now he's here bothering me too.
Brilliant, Ajante.
Nice to see you, Ajante.
Please record it and send it to me, and I'll make sure it's put
I
live on
will.
YouTube as well.
My back is against the wall, but Ajante's sense of humor is timeless, and he just got me again. And now I'm turning a little red. But anyhow, what the hell was that question?
I don't know. Ajante's put me off as well. It was about mentors. You were lacking in social engineering, active phishing
social
simulation.
engineering is a place we really need it. Tooling, and where we're going to start with, because we don't have a ton of money, is going to start with Go Fish. So anybody have experience with Go Fish? That's one critical area we need mentorship right now. We have Anna Collard, who's out of South Africa. She's brilliant. She does a lot of work across Africa. She's been good in terms of looking at when I put together curriculum for social engineering. She reviewed it and told me, what would work, what wouldn't work. But I do need volunteers there. And then in the typical red teaming world, we need support for pen testing, and particularly anybody who has skills in web attacks would be good.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I can definitely hook you up with a few of those. There's also a guy called Scott Wright out of Canada who's got a company called Click Armor that provide organizational and awareness training. And I know he's always looking to get involved and help support good organizations. So I'll do you an intro unless you've spoken to him.
He would be great. Yeah, he would be great, because one of the things that we need to do beyond just the training is then work with someone to obviously put together the policy information for a company. And right now I'm sitting on 2 companies that want to hire us locally, but I basically said, wait, because I want us to get a little bit further in our learning.
Well, let's now we've started talking about that. So the intention is then, once you've got the guys and girls trained up to a point where they can be proficient, I suppose, in a work environment, this is going to become a business, Adam.
Yeah, I think it's really the only way to do it, because there are a lot of programs where you can get training, right? And we have one member of our team, Jamila, who actually went through and did some training. She got, I think it was Security Plus out of CompTIA, and she had also did work on cybersecurity management. And then she went looking for jobs. There's nothing really available on the island. So I've been working since 2005. I've been a remote, and I've done a lot of work, offshore, nearshore, whatever you want to call it. So for me, connecting some of that knowledge that I have for that type of work and helping to build a business model over time for AntiguaRecon so it can do the work. The idea is that I have in my head, and I'm sure it's going to evolve as I mature, is to give the students enough skills that if they want to peel off and do their own thing, great. If they want to continue working with AntiguaRecon on the service side, then great. The intent being, you take somebody who has no skills, you build them up so they have sufficient experience to either continue with us or to peel off and do whatever they're going to do.
Yeah. That's amazing. Morning, Alana. I see Alana's just jumped in from the US. Alana works in governance, risk, and compliance, which leads me on to my next question. A lot of testers and technical folks in that area tend to have very specific focused knowledge. I know that you are trying to change that a little bit with the syllabus you've put together. Are you exposing the students to GRC at all?
Not at this point. Not at this point, because our focus has to be narrow. I think as they mature and knowledge grows, then we'll start to touch on those types of things. But at this point, it's just I mean, because a lot of our students who are coming in come in without any prior experience. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll ask them what is cybersecurity, and they'll often give just a piece of understanding, and their IT experience is very limited in general. So we really have to sort of reshape their thinking, the structure of their brain
Yeah.
to look at this information differently. Also, in terms of my role, in that I point out, I'm a scrum master. I'm not your teacher. I'm not, you know, a lot of people who here are educated in the British model where the teacher's in charge and tells them what to do. And it's like, no, we're here as
Yeah.
a team. We're
Yeah.
working together on the challenge of learning, and we are going to keep adapting as we go along and learn how to get better at what we do.
Having spent
Um,
a long time being privately educated as a youngster, I know exactly how that form of teaching you alluded to there goes. And I think if I'd have had a more interactive environment, I might have actually enjoyed school rather than someone standing at the front telling me what to do, which never really worked, Adam. Um, Quickly,
didn't
the
work on me either.
ISC Squared have got a free, I think they're offering 1 million spaces free at the moment, course called Certified in Cybersecurity, which is well, I don't want to take away from anyone who's passed it, but it's quite a condensed course. Is that the most polite way to put it? And it also gives you a very broad overview of the entire industry. And for me, coming in a couple of years ago, I've done it recently, and it helped me understand a little bit more how all the pieces fitted together. So I don't know if you've had a look at that, but seeing as it's free, it might be worth having a look.
You said ISC.
ISC Squared. I'll find you the link now. Hold on.
Okay. No, it's no problem. I can look it up. We do a little OS int work here, so I can usually figure that stuff out. Don't worry about it.
Started typing now, so I can't stop. Talk to me about the students. Are they all young? Are they all the same age? What's the demographics like?
Most of the students are in their either late teens or early 20s, although we have one who just checked in, Jamila, who's a little bit older. Her story will be posted probably the week after next on LinkedIn. I've started posting the stories of the students and just what drives them, so people can get a feel for who's involved. But usually an age of, say, 18 to 20, 21, 22. That's
Yeah,
the most common range that we have. We have Jamila who's a little bit older, and one other individual that's a little bit older. Um, they're almost all from Antigua, although this round we adopted three new students who are a little bit further away. We have, and they're above on top of our Antiguan students, and two of them are from actually Montserrat,
yeah.
and purely by accident. It wasn't because of my wife. um, and then,
I'm surprised you were allowed back there, but
yeah, yeah. Well, I get in quietly. And then we have one student mentor, a young guy named Ayush. I mentioned him earlier, and he's out of India. And last year, though, we lost a student, that left, and I had an extra license, and I talked to Bernadette. I said, "Do you mind if I give it to this guy Hack?" Because I found out he was only 15, and he was helping. He'd been helping our students for quite some time. I thought he was older. um, and so he's also a student at a distance, a student mentor, and is always there helping out everybody because he's just one of these fanatically driven young people who are really into cybersecurity. And so we constantly joke that he's our adopted Antiguan.
love that.
Um, yeah, so we have our 8 Antiguans, and then we have 3 students who are kind of a little bit extra, who are involved.
Excellent. You got me thinking. You said about using Hack the Box to help the students. There's a new platform that came out. I think it was summer last year. I'll drop it in the chat here. I've put the IC Squared one in the chat and in the private chat for you. It's called World of Haiku, and
Yeah, I'm familiar with them.
have you seen that yet?
Yeah, no, I haven't done anything with it, but yeah, I'm familiar with World of
Yeah,
Haiku.
it's
Yeah,
the pro version is probably more suited to your second year students, but you mentioned earlier that some of the students come to you with very little IT skills and fundamentals. This the first version, the non-pro version, is aimed at anyone from 10 upwards to teach them how to use Linux commands. And for me and for my 17-year-old, we've been playing around on that recently, and I've found that really, really useful.
Yeah, well, that's part of the reason we shifted to try hack me. I think the right now the hack the box model, and not saying anything negative to hack a box, because the people that we had helping us were phenomenal.
Yeah.
But when I came for the second year, I looked around and I chose try hack me because they have that model that you're talking about in terms of World of Haiku, where you can just start out at the lowest level and it's very clear the steps of what you need to do. So we shifted to that, and then they also had they had an offering. They had a little bit of social engineering training, and then they have a package for CompTIA Pen Test Plus, which is what we're gonna be doing. So it just seemed like the right combination of starting at ground zero and having some of the other components that we knew we needed.
Yeah, no, absolutely. When I tried to break in as a pen tester, which went really badly and culminated in me failing my OSCP, which I was clearly never going to pass, I used Hack the Box because Try Hack Me hadn't come out at that point,
Yep.
and it was an amazing platform. I've got no bad words to say about it at all, but there was definitely a gap there for me, coming from a background of using Windows computers and never used a Linux terminal before, where there was
Yep.
an awful lot of self-study and research
Yep.
done before I could even start to play the game. I've got to be honest.
I just saw Urshad Luchka. I probably messed up their names, but sudo apt get. I don't know what he was referring to, but
I
yes,
think
there are some geeks on this call.
there certainly is. Yeah, it was. I think the biggest challenge for me was setting up my VM, my Kali Linux box, and also then working out which libraries were missing, how to install them. But again, all valid parts of the learning process. And I think
Yep.
unless you said it earlier, encouraging the students to do that research and find out themselves is hugely important. And I don't think you can just go from zero to sitting a course without doing the self-study and the self-research. It's a huge part of it.
Yeah, a mistake I made last year that I corrected this year. And when we came to the end of last year, the students that wanted to continue on, we had a meeting at my house, and my wife made food to feed them, because the best thing to ever do when you have a meeting is have good food.
Yeah.
Plug for my wife, Nicole'sTable.com. She's a chef and does Caribbean cooking classes.
Let's
So if
get
you
that
come
in
to
there.
Antigua, but the we all sat down and we looked at last year. One of the things that we came up as a clear decision for an improvement for this year's class was every Saturday has to be a lab. I had originally scheduled for once a month there would be a lab, and everybody concluded we didn't do enough lab work. And lab work is where you apply your knowledge. I mean, if you're trying to do a CTF, trying to attack some box, and all you have is an IP,
Yeah.
and you've been learning in the structured curriculum, well,
It
if you
doesn't
have to do
work.
some enumeration work, recon work, you don't even know where to start.
No.
So the lab work's absolutely critical, and that's one big change from last year.
This is how I felt when after smashing Hack the Box for like ages, I had an interview as a junior pen tester with F-Secure, who for the first 10 minutes it went really well. Then he started asking me questions about networks, which I didn't know the answer to. And I said to him, what do I need to do to become a junior tester? He said, go and get your OSCP. So again, not having a mentor, not having spoke to anyone in the industry, I spent thousands on lab time and whatever the exam cost was. And literally, I sat down at that exam, pressed go, looked at the screen, and thought, "What the?" I just did not
Yeah,
know where to start. Did not know where to
yeah,
start.
yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, that whole sort of recon phase, when you get that box and all you know is a teeny little piece of information. That process of if then else that you have to run through your brain as you collect data. Um, the only way you really learn that is by failing
Yeah,
repeatedly, by trying and failing. And that's one of the things that I teach in the course, is that your job here is to learn how to fail well, right? You're going to be failing all the time, and um, learn how to deal with that, and learn how to deal also with emotional consequences, because sometimes you're going to feel really stupid, and that's normal.
yeah. I've spent my whole life feeling really stupid. So
Well, I was just waiting for the comment to jump up from Ajante saying, yes, Adam does.
we've got one from Kariba. It says experiential learning. You will never forget it, and I
Yeah,
completely
no,
agree.
Kareem would give me a hard time too. Yeah, I'm a little worried about some of these comments that'll pop up.
Yeah. So, okay,
Jamila's being nice to me though.
is
She
he?
hasn't said anything yet.
She's not normally nice. Then is this not normally the
Oh
way
no,
it goes?
Jamila, I give her a hard time. She's so polite. It's ridiculous.
Hey, Richard, good to see you. Richard Foster, based in the UK here, was ex-police officer who now does a lot of OSINT work. So
Oh wow.
you should
Okay.
check out Nicole's table just in case you're ever in the area. I've put the link in there, Richard, if you want to learn how to cook in a Caribbean style. If you missed that part of the conversation, so just to recap, we've got about 5 minutes left. I want to make sure that you get the message across that you want to get across today. I know that you're looking for people to jump in and help. So let's just reiterate the help that you're looking for at the moment, Adam.
Okay. First off, anybody who has social engineering experience, particularly in the area of phishing, simulated phishing attacks, ideally with Go Fish as the tooling. That's the first area. Second volunteer area is pen testing, more with a specialty around the area of web attacks. Those are the two areas that we've prioritized right now for our learning cycle. Partly because when we looked around here in our region, those are two very obvious areas of vulnerabilities across the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Anything more sophisticated, we'd have to be working with somebody else to bring them in for that expert level type work as we move forward.
Does
So
that mean
that's
does
really
that
the
mean you're
focus on
looking for
volunteer.
partnerships as well then?
Oh yeah, we're going to need that because if we get a request, for example, cloud security, we don't have any skills there, and we'd be irresponsible to say that we could do work in that area.
Yeah. Okay, that's brilliant. And what about financial support?
Yeah, primary financial support we need right now is, we're raising money for different attempts at certifications. So any money that can be given there, if anybody can help out, just contact me via AntiguaRecon.com. We
Oh,
have
look,
a little
seamless. There we go.
contact form.
Seamless.
Yeah.
It's in the chat.
Yeah, and then also via LinkedIn because I'm fairly active on LinkedIn. I'm actually looking at a message right now from Richard Foster, so I'm going to be talking to you, Richard.
He's one of the most genuine people I've met in person and on LinkedIn. We chatted, I think, through the InfoSec Live community for a few months, and I had the pleasure of meeting him at Black Hat Europe in London just
Oh,
before
really?
Christmas. And yeah, I think I probably shared too much of my life story with you, Richard. It turned into a bit of a therapy session as well. But he's a really good guy, so that'll be a good connection for you.
Well, that can happen depending on how many drinks you have, too.
I don't drink. You see,
Oh,
this
there you
is
go.
yeah.
So you
Imagine
don't have an excuse.
you can see why I don't drink now. If I'm opening up, I mean, a bit like you, Adam, from when we first spoke. I'm an open book. I think honesty is the best policy. And going back to something you said earlier on about learning from failures, I've seen huge success in my life. I've swum at a national level, kickboxed at a high level. I've also succeeded in business, and I've also destroyed everything as well through this not
Yep.
being right. And one thing I have learned, especially coming into this industry, is that if you haven't got a passion for it, it's definitely the wrong industry to get into.
Yeah, and
And for
that's
anyone
key.
who's following the money, thinking I can earn 100 grand a year. Well, you can earn 100 grand a year, but don't forget the continuous learning that you're going to have to do for the rest of your adult life.
But that to me is the great thing about it because life can be really boring if you're doing the same thing day after day. And this is one of
100%.
those areas where you're constantly having to improve your skills. But to finish, sort of like it was three things that we need. We need the volunteer support that I outlined. We always need some funding for the certifications. And then the final piece is that we are looking for partners. We are looking for companies. If a company came to me that does cybersecurity and said, "Hey, we're looking for these skill areas. Can you train to them?" Yeah, we'd love that because I mean, I'm done with the model where countries like Antigua, are picked for being call centers.
Yeah.
I'm done with the model where countries like Antigua only get money through tourism. Why can't we be like what India did, which was a purely genius move back in
Yeah.
the early 50s with the formation of the technical colleges and focusing on STEM? Our little tiny place here, why can't we create a Silicon Valley of the Caribbean and just start small? Start small by focusing on this area and building relationships with companies overseas, and then fill those needs in a way that makes that company happy and then makes the locals here happy, being able to have real skills that they can be proud of. So
Being
that's the third
British,
piece.
and having a lack of understanding about how this part works. What's the are there any difficulties between American companies and Antiguan companies transacting business, or is it fairly seamless?
It's pretty seamless. I mean, you can set it up pretty easily. So I mean, that's not a problem.
Okay, perfect. I'm just going to bring up a couple of comments. Alana, I completely agree. She says she loves what you're doing, Adam, really making a
Thank you,
difference.
Alana.
Yeah, Alana's another great connection you should reach out to on LinkedIn. Well worth connecting with. I mean, for anyone who's watching, Richie, I noticed as well. You've jumped in there. Richie's another great connection that I'd recommend you reaching out to. When you get to GRC, he's available, so that's pretty useful. And Keldon said that's what it's supposed to be, Adam, but the government won't see it that way. Sadly, I think we've all got fairly positive feelings about all governments around the world at the moment, but we're not going to start
Yeah,
talking about that.
that's why I keep a distance from the government, not because I have a problem with them. It's because it can get complicated. So
It can. Well, the US government issued their cybersecurity paper yesterday. I don't know if you had a chance to read that. It was it had lots of great talking points, but as my late nan would have said, it was a little bit all fur coat and no knickers, Adam, where it identified the problems but didn't really, I don't think, associate any responsibilities to anyone to actually deal with it. But
yeah, no, there are a lot of issues in the U.S. right now around that area. That's for sure.
absolutely. Look, Adam, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. Quick plug from me. For anyone who's based in Florida who's watching, we've got an in-person live event on the 30th of March in Tampa Bay, which is an invitational event for CISOs and leaders in the industry to to talk about cyber risk management for the C-suite. So if anyone's interested in either attending or supporting and helping out that event too, please let me know. I'm back again in 4 hours' time for another show, which is called The Intel Experience, where I've got Andrew Bunch coming on to talk about his career in the military and how he's using that to transition across into cybersecurity. So that will be exciting. But for anyone who's interested in supporting Adam, please do reach out to him. I'm just going to grab his LinkedIn profile link. You haven't got 3 N's in your name, so I'm not going to find it that way. Profile. I'll drop this in the chat. I've also dropped in the chat the link for AntiguaRecon if anyone wants to reach out there specifically. But Adam, thank you so much. The info for
Thank
the
you.
show, Sheldon, hold on. Yeah, let me drop that in here. I'll drop you the link to the channel on YouTube, which will then give you all of the shows. We've got 8 shows, I think, coming up over the next 7 days, so quite a bit of content. But thank you very much to the audience for engaging. Adam, any insightful last words before we wrap up?
My wife would say no.
Yeah.
Just thank you everybody
Nope.
thank you everybody for showing up today, and please reach out for any reason. I mean, I love talking with people, and I've found some fantastic people all over the world doing this work. So
Amazing. Adam, thank you so much. I look forward to catching up soon. Everyone else, see you in a few hours, I hope. Take care.
take care, bud.